Hey guys, so you've caught me. I'm right in the middle of trying to get things ready for our Sunday recording, actually. Just the little things. Like as you can see, we had to change our colors, which I'll get into, I'm sure, over the course of my many little Lenten challenge notes that I've been doing lately. But it's the idea that we'll be talking about Lent and we'll be talking about other church things too. But we're recording here now today, or we will be shortly. I'm going to record my part, and Reverend Owen's going to record his part, and we're going to put it all together for the video for Sunday so that we can keep worshiping even though we're still apart. But, I mean, it's been rough, like you know. I'm sure everybody's still getting adjusted to doing school at home and everything else, but we trust that things are going as best as they can. And that's an important thing to know, trust, especially when we don't know what's going to happen next. It's part of actually what we're going to be talking about in our scriptures this Sunday, the importance of trust and the result of it, because that's an important thing too. Two of our readings, actually, one is the outcome of Noah and the ark, and the other one is Jesus being driven off into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, the whole point of Lent, right? And the reason why we commemorate it. And it's also an opportunity for us to look at how trust works in those two ways. Because I want you to think about it. How many times have you had somebody in your life say, now listen, I know that this is the right thing to do, and I want you to trust me. And you don't really have any way of knowing if that's going to work. And I mean that. Like, you have no proof, and I mean that sincerely. As a parent and as a son of parents, I remember how many times I was told, just listen to me, trust me, I know that this is the way it's going to work out, so don't do that. And then, of course, I went and did it and probably got hurt. There's a few things I could think of that way, but most of them involve just, mom and dad saying, don't do that because I know what'll happen, you'll probably get hurt. Me saying, that won't happen to me, and then winding up getting hurt, just as they said. And it's hard because you think you know, and you think you might not do the same mistakes that your family might have made before you. I mean, that's something that we can all believe in. But then at the same time, you have this trouble. That when it comes to trust, that's the whole point. The idea is that trust means we have to believe the other person enough to see it through, no matter what the outcome is. So with Noah, he was told right at the beginning of his story, basically, build a boat, a big boat, because rain is coming and it's going to be a flood. And Noah looked around and kind of said, yeah, okay, but, it's God, so maybe I'll take his word for it. But there was no real proof. There was no sign. There was no, besides God calling him, but I mean, there was no like drips, drops, and drabbles of rain ahead of time. Here he was building the boat in the middle of summer, and everybody was looking at him funny. And then on top of that, he had to do this all by trust also to collect all those animals and to go through all the trouble of all that. And just think about that. You got a boat full of stinky, smelly animals that you had to pair off to make sure you had everybody. And only then did it start to rain. Imagine if it didn't. You would have looked pretty foolish. But to not trust God is also pretty foolish. I mean, big voice in the sky telling you to do something. Maybe you should. But a lot of people thought he was nuts. And yet, he survived. And more importantly, because he trusted in God, even though there was no final proof of what was going to come out of it, on the end, he trusted again, and he received what's called a covenant, a promise, that rainbow in the sky that basically said, from now on, this will never happen again. I will never let the earth become encompassed in water and drowned again. So that's something. And with Jesus in the gospel reading today, it's a similar thing, only on a much smaller scale. There was no floods or anything, but still pretty important. There was still water involved. He got baptized, so there was that. But he was driven out into the desert. The Spirit drove him, directed him out into the desert, and he had to trust, as God led him through the Spirit, that by being drove out into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, similar story to the ark, he would survive. He had to trust that even though he was going out there in the middle of nowhere, with no food, no rations, no water, no nothing, that he'd be all right, and that the reason he was going was to be prepared for something that he knew what was going to come of it, but at the same time, you're human. You don't know what you're capable of or what's going to happen to your body. So he went out, He trusted. And even in the middle of it all, he was being tempted and bothered and poked at by the devil while he was out there, tempted and tried, as we say. And then, for his trouble, for the 40 days of struggling and seeing it through, not only did he start his mission on earth with a renewed purpose and a real starting point, he also was waited on by the angels, it says. He received a reward and then further promise. It can be hard to trust when we can't see the other side of it, to see the end of it. It's hard, too, to trust when we think that we know best. But right now, that's what we need to do. We need to trust each other, our parents, those who care for us, our teachers, our leaders, that they're doing what they can, what's best for us, so that we can come out of this again. And so that we can get back to, being in these pews and sharing in this worship together again. Well, physically, not just like the way I'm doing it now. Anyway, I got to finish setting up the camera, and I got to finish getting everything ready. But we'll still be doing a lot more of these, and we'll be keeping in touch, of course. But keep in touch with my Lenten challenge. Every day a little short message. And I hope you guys are staying well. Listen to your folks. Help them and be part of the solution to trusting and helping. Show the Lord that we're listening and that we're trying our best to make things well. Stay safe. Pray safe. God bless you guys. I'll see you next week.